So in today's video, let's talk about 5 misconceptions that hinder your growth as a flash photographer. So hi everyone, this is Jiggy, a portrait and wedding photographer from the Philippines, and welcome to the channel. So if you guys are familiar with the channel, you know that I do a lot of instructional videos pertaining to the topic of off-camera flash or maybe just off-camera lighting. Now here are 5 things that I've actually seen newbie or beginner flash photographers commit that hinders their growth as a flash photographer. So let's go straight to the point. The first one is thinking that the shadows are your enemy. So more often than not, beginner photographers have a tendency to be so afraid of shadows that they will actually put in a flash to remove those shadows. However, you have to understand that in order for you to get shape, form, texture, or depth, you will actually need shadows. Take for instance a blank piece of paper without any creases. All you will see is a blank sheet of paper. However, you crumple it up, you create shadows, therefore you're creating texture, you're creating shape, you're creating form. And that works the same way whenever you're shooting an individual's portrait. However, the shadows you can indeed control by opening up the shadows, or what I call opening up the shadows, by making the shadows lighter or darker depending on the vision that you want to create. So remember, shadows are your friends. Don't remove them, but rather just control them. The second, thinking that you have to remove existing ambient light. Now, whenever you're lighting, you have to light with a purpose, hence the shirt, lighting with a purpose. And every single light that is in existence in your scene should have a specific purpose. Yes, there's nothing wrong with removing existing ambient light if it does not serve a purpose. But normally, whenever you're getting those dark, dramatic images outdoor, which is what most flash photographers are actually known for, it becomes pseudo, I like it light and airy, or moody. That's a type of flash photography versus natural light debate there is. But whenever you're really thinking about lighting, when you want light to look as natural as possible, or you want your light to look as if it were shot with natural light, just beautiful natural light. So if you have any existing ambient light in your scene that you can use, it could be your key light, your fill light, your rim light, or your background light, so long as it has a purpose, keep it. You don't necessarily have to remove all existing ambient light. Now the third, thinking that more is better. One of the most common questions or the most common solutions that are given to me is that, how do you solve a specific problem? They say, add another light. When in reality, you have one light, which is your sun, that's creating all this beautiful natural light. So why have to add more? Or why add more when you haven't really mastered just one? So my piece of advice is always stick to one light first. That's why, as I said earlier, this channel primarily focuses on how to maximize with just one light. And in case you guys haven't seen those videos, feel free to check out the rest of the videos in the channel. And if you like what you see, don't forget to subscribe to the channel and click that notification bell. Now, if you also want to see more of my images, you could follow me on Instagram. It's at Jiggy Alejandrino. So it's important for you to master just really one light. With one light, you can create so many different looks. You could use gobos, you could use a bunch of modifiers, or you could even use reflectors. As what I said in the first part of this video, you could use a reflector to open up the shadows. You could use gobos to create different types of light, different shapes. Different modifiers can create hard light or soft light. So there's so much potential with just one light. So I suggest you master one first before adding another one to your arsenal. Number 4, thinking a flash is just a flash. So this might be a bit controversial, so please do take it with a grain of salt. And this is just personally my own opinion. I've always believed that equipment matters in terms of creating beautiful photographs, especially if you are at the same level. Let's say, for example, with me, give me an inferior flash to a high-end flash. I could probably take the same photograph. However, I might have an easier time whenever I am using the more efficient flash compared to the entry-level one. So where am I getting at? It's basically like a car. It's going to take you from point A to point B, but of course, there are different levels or different brands and different types of cars. You've got maybe your Toyotas compared to your Ferraris. So that's a good example. It just does the same thing, but it just takes you there differently. That the same way with flash photography, whenever you consider your flash to just be another flash, you're already missing the point. When you have inferior flash or more affordable flash units, there is a trade-off. So the most important thing for you to think about is that you have to understand what those trade-offs are so that you can maximize the potential of your flash. Let's say, for example, you've got an inferior flash. It might not give you the exact power that's set in the camera in your flash unit. You'll say from full power to half power, it might not really be exactly half power, because when you really look at it, those increments are in direct correlation to your exposure. So when you really understand it technically, let's say you want to remove one stop from your exposure, you could actually remove one stop technically from your flash unit. But when you are still starting off with flash photography and you do that and your flash doesn't work as advertised, then you might get an underexposed image or an overexposed image. So those are the things that's important for you to understand, that a flash is not just a flash. It's not just supposed to pop light. The consistency of the flash is important. The color of the flash is important. But again, all you have to do is be aware of that in order for you to maximize the potential of that particular unit. Okay? So last but not the least, the fifth one, thinking that flash photography is actually hard. When in reality, we are photographers and we're surrounded by light. All of these things that you see that's illuminating me, that's light. So flash photography is the same thing, except that we are using a piece of equipment to mimic that of existing ambient light. So when you look at it that way, the technical aspect of flash photography is not that difficult to understand. So if you want to learn more about that, again, check out the rest of the videos on my channel. But the moment that you understand all those technical aspects, it is all about light. So for me personally, it is not the technical aspect that hinders flash photographers or off-camera flash photographers, or maybe just off-camera lighting. It is more about the understanding of light. So if you understand light, you could use flash, yes, but you could also use continuous light. So even in this channel, you guys will know, if you're familiar with the channel, I use flash and I use continuous light all off camera. All the time, everything that I do, I actually just think about light. So the flash is a mere tool for me to create my vision into a reality, or my continuous light is the same tool. So that's why it's important to think that, oh, you know what, the technical aspect, it's the same as learning aperture, shutter speed, and ISO. It is actually not that difficult. It is more difficult to understand light than it is to understand flash photography. So again, these are 5 misconceptions that might hinder your growth as a flash photographer. So once again, let me recap. The first is thinking that shadows are your enemy. The second is thinking that we have to remove existing ambient light. The third is thinking that one is not enough or more is better. The fourth is thinking that the flash is just a flash. And 5 is that flash photography is actually hard. So once again, I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and if you did, please do subscribe to the channel, and while you're at it, click that notification bell. And if you like this video, do like this video, because it helps the algorithm and shows this video to more people. So now if you want to see more of my images, you could also find me on Instagram. It's at Gigi Alejandrino. Okay, till the next video.